Also want to bring up Brooke Littrell and what she's been through because Jim Flannery got to touch on it in the postgame press conference. Brooke lost her father in October, and I think you just saw how much Flan cares about his players and talking about how much it meant for Brooke to have 12 points, matched her season high against a great UConn team, and she had to step up as well with Kiani down. And Flan said, "Hey, if Kiani doesn't get hurt, then Brooke might not play as much, but she got to shine that day." So great for her and happy for her family to get to see that in person too.
You're listening to the Bluejay Breakdown.
Back with the Bluejay Breakdown, Anna and Jacob here to talk some Creighton men's and women's hoops. Starting on that men's side, it's a team that's won 7 of their last 8. Jacob, what do you think has this squad on a roll, especially after that pink out win over DePaul?
It's typical Greg McDermott team. They just get better as the season goes on. Everybody kind of settles into their roles, figures out how they can help the team, and things just come together. So I think that's what we're seeing is defensively, they've really taken strides. Obviously, playing some bad offensive teams helps. Climb back in the top 25 in defensive efficiency on KenPom. But yeah, we're just starting to see more guys make an impact. They're starting to get some bench contributions. Stephen Ashworth and Ryan Kalkbrenner are continuing to be really, really good. And it's like I said, it's looking like a typical Greg McDermott January team where his teams have been really successful over the years.
All right, let's touch on that DePaul win, 79-54, and of course the pink out was the 15th annual one. All the funds went to the Hope Lodge in Omaha, and I know you can go check that out at the Hope Lodge's website if you want to donate more, but always an emotional day, and sometimes maybe hard to focus on the basketball, but this team was locked in. Shaky first half, but second half for sure got it going for the Blue Jays.
Yeah, it was kind of a weird game. Seton Hall was without their top 2 scores. There are only 2 double-digit scores, and their third was coming off an injury and was kind of a surprise availability there. And he was limited anyway. So Greg McDermott talked about how it's easy to maybe lose a little bit of focus when you hear the guy that you've been spending all week practicing to defend isn't out there. And that was the case with Isaiah Coleman. Kind of surprised everybody that he was not suited up. But Creighton fell behind 28-20 kind of late in the first half. And then they woke up. They went on a 27-4 run, including 9-0 to start the second half. And it was no longer a game after that point. And probably the most impressive part of the game was kind of that stretch in the second half. They went 11 for 12 from the field to stretch the lead out to 26. They had 7 different guys score that during that run, including 4 guys off the bench. So it really was just kind of a total team effort. Everybody grooving, playing well together. Isaac Traudt had 2 threes in a fast break layup in that stretch himself. I think Ryan Kalkbrenner had 8 points during that run as well. And then they got different guys making an impact. So that was kind of the story of that game is, it took a little bit, but once they got going, they turned into an absolute buzzsaw. And starts with the 2 leaders, Ashworth and Kalkbrenner combined for 40 points, 12 assists, and 11 rebounds before getting to kind of take an early exit by their standards. Played, I think, 32 and 33 minutes between the 2 of them. And I think probably the biggest thing coming out of it is Stephen Ashworth kind of breaking out of his slump a little bit from 3-point range, went 5 of 8 from deep. And we'll see if he can kind of carry that forward because he had been 9 for his last 41. Only had 1 game during that stretch where he was really hitting. So if he's kind of settled in and pulled out of that's huge for this team moving forward because the schedule is going to get tougher.
I'm realizing I said DePaul.
Oh, yeah, Seton Hall.
Seton Hall.
Yeah. Seton Hall, DePaul. I mean, at this point, that's the...
Yeah, they're besties at the bottom of the Big East right now. So
and the kind of the trend between the 2 of them is Creighton took care of business. They got a lot of bench minutes, and I think probably the most exciting part is Fedor Zugic coming out of that stretch. Played 35 minutes between the DePaul and Seton Hall games. He's up to 57 minutes played this season. He's got 26 points on 9 of 18 shooting, including 4 of 9 from 3. 4-7 from the line, 8 rebounds, 7 assists, and 4 turnovers. And you look at those last 2, 17 points, 4 rebounds, 4 assists in 35 minutes, and hit 3 threes. So I think we're starting to see him settle in, and these kind of blowouts were big for that opportunity. Mac talked about how important the 3 minutes at the end of the Providence game was for him. Now he's gotten a ton of those minutes over the last 2. Did not play against UConn. We'll see here in the Xavier game and some of these other tougher ones coming up if he's kind of gotten over that hump and now has McDermott's trust enough to get a chance to make an impact in these big games.
And also, I think it can't go unnoticed that Kalkbrenner and Ashworth are getting a little bit more rest than they maybe would have anticipated too, with having a marginal lead like that against Seton Hall and DePaul.
Yeah, and Mac talked about that in the DePaul game. We saw that he went to the bench even earlier than normal. Like it wasn't just waiting for garbage time. He went to a kind of a different rotation early in that game, anticipating, I guess, trusting his team to be mature enough to take care of business. And those guys went in and made an impact. I think probably one of the important parts of this recent stretch is Isaac Traut's play. And he had scored double figures again in that Seton Hall game. He had 10 points on 4-4 shooting. It's now 3 of his last 4. He's hit double figures, and he's 11 for 12, including 9 and 10 from 3 in his last 3 home games. You look at his career, he has 40 of 79. It's over 50% from 3 at home. So Isaac Traudt loves playing at CHI Health Center. And fortunately for Creighton, they've got another big home game coming up next, and they're going to need him. And it's big, too, because we've seen Jackson McAndrew kind of maybe hit a little bit of the freshman wall. He's had one kind of game out of this last handful where he was hitting shots. He hasn't stopped playing. He's hunting shots. He's taking good ones. And we saw him follow up his own miss in that Seton Hall game to go get a putback. So it's good to see him kind of continuing to play hard even when things aren't going his way. But as long as you get one of those two kind of picking each other up, then Creighton's got a good chance to be successful. And that's what we've seen over this last stretch.
And like you mentioned, a big stretch coming up. Xavier on Wednesday, a team that just beat UConn, and then at Villanova on Saturday. What are you looking out for most in that Xavier matchup?
Yeah, Xavier's kind of is at 47 in KenPom right now. They're 13-5, 5-5 in the Big East, but they've won 4 of their last 5, including against Villanova, at Marquette, and against UConn. So those are 3 big wins. And they were up big at St. John's, too, and kind of let that one slip away. If they had been able to pull that off, then despite not having a great first half of the season, they could have put themselves into that mix to maybe be the 5th Big East team in the NCAA tournament. And they're still, I think, kind of fighting for that. So Creighton's got to come ready to play for this one. Xavier is playing significantly better recently than they did earlier in the season. Although it's kind of interesting. They're shooting 38% from 3, which is 20th in the country. They have a 39% free throw rate, and they're 5th in the country in assist rate. And Creighton's defense is basically designed to take all that away. They don't let you move the ball great to set up catch and shoot shots. They defend the 3 pretty well, and they don't foul. So it'll be curious to see kind of whose strengths went out. Does Xavier get to what they want to do, or does Creighton's defense kind of hold as they often do? What we were seeing is kind of a balanced offense for Xavier. They've got 4 in Big East play alone. They've got 4 guys averaging double figures overall this season. They've got 3 with Dalen Swain just under that, and then Marcus Foster not too far behind. Zach Fremantle was back after kind of going through some injuries, and I don't know that he's 100% what he was previously, but he's still leading them at over 16 points a game. Ryan Conwell has been a big addition, averaging 16 points a game, shooting 39% on over 7 3-point attempts per game. Davion McKnight is back, averaging just over 10 points and just under 5 assists a game at the point guard spot. And then Swain's kind of a guy with pro prospects, just kind of long, athletic, averaging about 10 points, 5 boards a game. Will be kind of interesting how Creighton matches up with him. So it's a team with a lot of different guys that can hurt you. It's not necessarily a matchup where you can focus in on one or two guys. You're going to have all five guys playing well defensively in order to compete in this one.
And then you run into the Big East Player of the Year candidate, Eric Dixon, in Villanova on Saturday. What are you looking out for in that one, Jacob?
Yeah, Villanova was looking pretty good the last time Creighton saw them. They've unfortunately, for them, hit a rut recently. They're sitting there 54th in KenPom. They're 12-9 on the season, 5-5 in Big East, but they've lost 4 of their last 5. So kind of the opposite of Xavier, where it's a team that's finding its stride. Villanova's schedule has not been super easy, but they haven't found a way to win those games either. They're 11-2 at home, so Creighton will have to see if they can kind of continue their recent road success at another tough venue. But yeah, you mentioned Eric Dixon, and Creighton's defense has had a problem with him over the last handful of years, averaging almost 25 points a game, shooting 46% from 3. And they got 3 others in double figures, and Wilgood Poplar, Jordan Longino, and Jameer Brickus, but not a whole lot outside that. So we saw Creighton get crazy hot from 3 basically, and Jemiah Neal go on a heater to beat Villanova in Omaha. I don't know that you can necessarily rely on that. So Creighton's going to have to play well in other areas, I think, to go score a big road win.
All right, well, let's flip over to the women's side of things. Their first loss in Big East play comes at the hands of UConn. So this team's 16-4, 8-1 in conference play. Touching on that UConn loss, of course, the number 6 team in the nation gets to play at CHI Health Center, and it's a record crowd, 11,141 people in attendance, the most ever for a Creighton women's basketball home game. 72-61 loss. What were your biggest takeaways, Jacob?
I think probably just the progress that Creighton showed from their previous top 10 matchups, where when they went to Kansas State and went to UCLA in the non-conference, those games were never really competitive. Creighton kind of got blown out of both those games early on and was never really in it. And in this game, we saw it was a 2-point game at the end of the first. And Creighton only scored 6 points in the second quarter, and UConn was able to kind of create some separation. They pushed that to 20 in the second half, but Creighton never went away. They continued to battle. They got it down to, I think, 10 or so in the fourth quarter, ended up losing by 12, which is by far, I think, the best showing for a Big East team against UConn this season, because they had been winning by like 36 points a game in conference play. They just beat Seton Hall by 60. I think they beat Xavier by like 57. So this is a team that can absolutely embarrass you. And Creighton never let that happen. And I think kind of the trend of recent games, home games in particular, is Jim Flannery just talking about afterward, we're happy for the win, but wasn't thrilled with their defensive effort, and particularly the consistency of it, playing 40 full minutes of locked in, attention to detail, all that type of stuff. And we saw that in this game. They held UConn to 40% from the field, which is the lowest of the season for them. Only 4-20 from 3. It really made Paige Beckers work for everything that she got, and they completely kept her in check in the first half before she got going in the second. They don't really have a matchup for Sarah Strong, unfortunately, which was kind of the difference in the game, but they did a great job on everybody else. And that's without Keani Lockett, who is an important piece for them on both sides of the court. And that was kind of a short notice deal. She practiced on Friday, so whatever happened must have happened within that practice. She was in a boot on Saturday. So it's an important piece that meant, one, that Lauren Jensen had to take the Beckers matchup on defense, and she did a great job, but that takes a lot out of you on the offensive end. And Morgan Molly and Lauren Jensen never really got it going offensively. Unfortunately, they didn't shoot well enough between the two of them. 10 and 27 from the field, 3 of 12 from 3. You're going to need those two to be hitting in order to win a game like this. But I think the sign of progress was that everything else they did, like if those two had been shooting a little better, they would have had a chance to kind of pull this upset off. And you head into kind of the postseason where you're going to face teams like UConn. I think you take a little bit of confidence from this game, knowing that, hey, the next time Morgan and Lauren are not going to go 3 for 12 probably in their next big game. So a lot of positive takeaway, even if it was the first Big East loss of the season.
Also want to bring up Brooke Littrell and what she's been through, because Jim Flannery got a touch on it in the post-game press conference. Brooke lost her father in October, and I think you just saw how much Flan cares about his players, and talking about how much it meant for Brooke to have 12 points, matched her season high against a great UConn team, and she had to step up as well with Kiani down, and Flan said, hey, if Kiani doesn't get hurt, then Brooke might not play as much, but she got to shine that day. So great for her, and happy for her family to get to see that in person too.
Yeah, going from playing the Division II level to scoring double figures against that team, the most famous and prominent team in the country. That's pretty impressive for her. And yeah, Jim Flannery moved to tears, had a tough time kind of getting through the answer, talking about her and what she's gone through. And I think we both kind of knew that she was early on in the season. I mean, she wasn't there for media day. She was back at home going through some things. I had not heard what exactly it was before that moment, but Flannery kind of let everybody know that what she's been dealing with happened shortly before the season started. So is someone that transferred into Creighton to spend her last year, complete life change from where she was previously, and then to have to go through that while you're trying to make that transition, that's got to be tough. And so yeah, happy for her. That's kind of another positive to take out of that is that she was able to have that performance in that type of game. And you just see why Jim Flannery's players love him so much. Just the outpouring of emotion from them, and then just kind of the reaction to current and former players on social media as that clip kind of circulated, the quotes kind of got out there. Just everybody chiming in that has played for him, that's coached with him, basically just saying, hey, that's who Jim Flannery is, and that's why Creighton has some of the best attrition, or lack of attrition, I guess, retention in the country over the Jim Flannery era.
Yeah, players don't typically leave Jim Flannery's program, and like you said, it's pretty evident why. So the Blue Jays will go at Georgetown and face Kelsey Ransom on Wednesday, and then against Providence at home on Sunday. Starting with that Georgetown game, what are you looking out for?
Yeah, so first time seeing Georgetown, we're starting to get through most of the single plays here in the Big East before they start to see some rematches with that Providence game. Georgetown's 10-10, 3-6 in the Big East. We're kind of back into taking care of business mode for Creighton. They, at this point, it's UConn, then it's Creighton, and then it's everybody else. There aren't a whole lot of quality wins left in the league at this point. I know Gino was trying to stump for the league in the post-game press conference and talking up Creighton, how he doesn't understand how they're not a top 20 team. Based on what he sees on film and then what he saw in that game. And he thinks that's disrespect for the Big East more than anything else. But I mean, you look at the conference right now, and there aren't a lot of teams that are playing well outside of those top two. So Creighton can't afford to let things slip. They got to lock back in here. Can't let that UConn game beat them twice. Georgia, you mentioned Kelsey Ransom averaging almost 20 a game, almost 4 assists a game. Ariel Jenkins, 6'3" center, averaging double-double. And we know, obviously, Creighton's struggle at times with talented posts. So it's a game in hitting the road, obviously. So Creighton's got to get locked back in for that one. And then Providence, we saw them match up already this season. They're 9-13, 2-7 in the Big East right now. That was the one where Creighton kind of struggled early. They were down 3 at halftime, and then they held Providence to 2 points in the third quarter and took control of that game to win 60-46. That was the day when they shot 3 of 22 from 3. So I would not expect them to do that at DJ Soko Arena this time around. So these are 2 games that, if all goes according to plan, Creighton should kind of get back on a roll here and have a chance to start a new Big East win streak.
Absolutely. Well, Jacob, thanks for joining us, and thank you all for watching. We'll talk to you next week on Bluejay Breakdown.